This is Sylvia, and today I'm talking about building a bone reading set. Um, you have probably found this video through the bone reading group that's on Facebook, and I am known there as Sylvia as well. So during this video, I'm going to be referencing a book by Michelle Jackson. It's called Bones, Shells, and Curios, a contemporary method of casting the bones. If you don't have this and you're new to bone reading, I recommend that you get it. It's a really good resource. And again, I will be referencing while I'm speaking to you today. So, assuming you bought the book or you've done other research about bone reading, but you haven't yet got started, okay, well, now what? Maybe you haven't got started because you're feeling a bit overwhelmed. I know when I was putting together my own set, I wasn't quite sure where to get started. It seemed like a whole lot of different pieces were needed. I wasn't entirely sure what was optional, what wasn't. Maybe you're reluctant to learn yet another system. Perhaps you're accustomed to using card-based divination systems like tarot, playing cards, Lenormand. Maybe you've used runes before, but you're not quite sure if you want to invest in another set, especially with bone reading, in contrast to tarot, where you can go to pretty much any New Age shop and pick up a tarot deck or an oracle deck. Bone reading seems to be much more customized, much more bone reading sets seem to be very specific to individual readers. So while two readers might have a few pieces, maybe many pieces that are the same, it's quite likely that there are individual differences as well. So how can you move from this bit of anxiety about getting started, these feelings of uncertainty, to curiosity and playfulness? So if you're familiar at all with bone reading, you probably know that shells play a prominent role in many people's bone reading sets. So see these two children here adventuring at the beach, looking for shells, looking for those unbroken shells that, or maybe broken pieces that are colorful, maybe looking for sea glass, who knows. But they're going in without trepidation. So how can we capture that sense of joy and wonder when we start building our own set? Putting together a bone set should not leave you breathing into a paper bag. This should be something that you enjoy. So I'm going to propose based on my own experience, and this is not official or traditional or any of that necessarily. This is just my own experience. But what if we saw ourselves as writers? What if we're building stories with, or building novels or plays with these bone reading sets? So first of all, think about what sorts of stories you want to be able to tell, and just as importantly, what you don't want to say. So for instance, if you know you don't want to do health readings, will it make sense to you to have a piece that represents health? Maybe you're familiar with angel cards, angel tarot cards, like Doreen Virtue's deck. And you know that there are tarot decks out there that have reworked certain, I guess you would say, scary cards, like the Death card, the Tower card. Do you want to deliver those kinds of messages? Do you want pieces that reflect, sort of like those scary cards, those kinds of concepts? So looking at the suggested pieces that are in the book, in Michelle Jackson's book, looking at those lists of suggested pieces through the lens of a playwright or author, what are the sorts of characters you want in your story? So, you probably want a piece for yourself. Do you want one for a loyal friend? Do you want a romantic partner, ancestors, angels, spirits? What do you want? What do you want represented here? Do you want generic characters that can take on different roles? What qualities and actions do you want to associate with those characters? Do you want, again, loyalty, courage, secrets, reputation? Look at the setting, the mood, and the timing. So, do you want a piece for work, a piece for home? Do you want dice in your set? Do you want a die that represents the mood, so that when you roll, let's say a 5, you know that the mood is one of conflict? Timing. Do you want to address timing with your pieces, or do you want to address timing at all? Do you want timing to be contingent on where the pieces fall on your mat? So, taking these story elements into account, considering them, you're going to build these lists of characters, qualities, actions, setting, mood, timing. You'll build these lists for your own individual basket, your own bone reading set. And you'll ask yourself when you're done, do I have a story? Can I write stories? Can I deliver messages with what I have now? So you might be saying to yourself, all right, well, this is great, Sylvia, but you've got a set. Surely you don't remember what it's like to have to come up with your own set. And that's a valid statement, valid evaluation. So yesterday, I made a list like what I just described, and I took it to the dollar store here, and I walked back out of the dollar store with about $5 worth of materials, and I'm going to tell you how I transformed that $5 worth of materials, plus a few items around my house, which you probably have as well, into a casting set. So I spent about 20 minutes with these tiny little blocks, sticking stickers onto those blocks that would represent those different categories. And you can see me in the process of doing this. In the upper left corner of the desk, you see the pieces on a piece of paper. And what I've done here is tell you what meanings I've assigned to the different pieces. So the blocks are things like health, secrets, courage, road opening, evil eye, those types of things. I have 2 hair elastics, which represent gifts and actions. I have some wooden beads, which represent people. I decided to go with the wooden beads for people because I wanted to be able to see where the people were right off the bat. Money is represented by a penny, connections represented by a button. I also have a bottle cap, which represents contracts and agreements, because I thought it might be interesting to have a piece that could hold some of the other pieces, like the elastic hair ties do. I also had a clothespin which was broken, so I pulled the little bit of wire off of that, and that represents worries. Now, I could have very easily turned one of these cubes into a die, but I decided, because we have an insane number of dice in our house, we do a lot of gaming, I decided to just use that red one you see to indicate the tone of the reading. And I wanted a piece that represents pay attention right now. So you'll see in the middle here an exclamation point. So this is what I've done in 20 minutes with about $5 worth of material. Now this was actually a pretty fun set to come up with. It's something that if you choose to sit down and do your own set rather than purchase a set, it will probably help you from the standpoint of you'll be able to remember the meanings a bit more easily. These are meanings you've definitely assigned yourself, images you've assigned yourself. It's also a fun thing to do with a child. I'm thinking in retrospect that maybe this is something I might want to do with my children. Also, again, because you only spent $5 and 20 minutes of your time, this might not be a bad travel set, so that if it gets lost or something happens to it, you're not really attached to it. So what does my actual official set look like? If you're active in the bone reading group, you've probably seen this image and similar images there. I have occasionally posted images of readings I've done with my own set, and so you can poke around there in the bone reading group if you're interested in seeing my own set in action, and feel free to ask questions, comment on those posts. So in closing, I hope that this has helped to bring you back to curiosity and playfulness, and give you some ways to deal with any anxiety you might have around getting started with a bone reading set. There is a casting class with 4 very good instructors that will be coming up soon. You've probably seen the post in the bone reading group. So hopefully, if you haven't gotten started, this will help you on that path. And embrace your narrative. It's only everything. As Michelle Jackson might say in closing, and as she closes her blog posts quite often, happy bone reading.